Hello, my name is James Longwell. I'm a partner in the Canadian offices of Gowling WLG. The topic we're going to explore today is IP audits. What is in your IP portfolio? By way of overview, we're going to look at three main questions. What is an IP audit? Why conduct an audit? And how do you conduct an audit? So what is an IP audit? Well, it's a rigorous, systematic review of the IP that's owned or used by a particular entity. It identifies intellectual property, assesses its nature, scope, and ownership. It reviews internal intellectual property policies and procedures. And even in an extensive audit, one can look at the rights of third parties. In many contexts, in many ways, an IP audit is similar to a due diligence review in an M&A deal. Why does one conduct an IP audit? Well, there's four main reasons. You can identify potential anomalies. For example, ownership anomalies on a public record may be inconsistent. You can identify potential gaps in intellectual property protection. Mapping is a process of associating intellectual property rights with aspects of a particular business, showing where the business is covered and where it is not. Steps may be taken to resolve the gaps and boost one's coverage. Potential cost savings and efficiencies are often also identifiable. Mapping can show those assets that are unused, underutilized, or otherwise no longer valued. These assets may be dropped, sold, or licensed. Opportunities can be identified to improve the management of one's portfolio. For example, consolidating management might improve efficiency and lower costs. Potential risks are often also identifiable. Agreements can be reviewed and show where compliance issues may arise. Certain intellectual property assets may be susceptible to being extinguished. For example, trademarks required use in a particular jurisdiction to maintain that registration. How does one conduct an IP audit? Well, it's important to establish good practices at the beginning. And that starts with establishing a solid team. Particularly having assistance from knowledgeable personnel with sufficient authority to ensure that an audit progresses smoothly, on time, and on budget. Outside personnel should have knowledge of one's business as well. It's important to have an audit scope at the beginning. The team gets together, discusses what the specific objectives are of the business, and tailors the scope appropriately. Where a business is more focused on a type of IP asset or has a particular line of business, for example, that it wants to review, possibly because it was a recent acquisition, the priorities can be established accordingly. How do you conduct an IP audit? Well, there's lots of approaches to be taken, but I think in general, it's very important to create a tailored checklist that guides the review of the audit. It can establish what type of IP and documents and so forth that can be reviewed, as well as questions that should be addressed to each of those. A particular agreement, for example, may have different kinds of issues than other kinds of agreements. When compiling and reporting the findings, it's important to be clear, have a great summary of what the findings are and what the potential issues may be. Analysis can be performed and recommendations generated. And then finally, from those recommendations, a cost estimate's prepared, prioritizations of the various requirements may be taken, and then finally, action is directed. In summary, for businesses that have invested in the development or acquisition of intellectual property assets, conducting an IP audit provides valuable insights and opportunities. Once audited, a business will have a better position to strengthen its IP portfolio and harness its value. I recommend, if you have an opportunity, to visit our remaining portfolio of information and videos and so forth at our GoExcel platform, and to reach out to any of your Gowling professionals if you have any questions. Thank you.